come tonight to the new Provo East District. We were District 2, we're now the East District meeting. We especially appreciate those from the city that have stayed late and the city council that have stayed late and joined us for this meeting. We appreciate that. This is their personal time. They're, you know, off the clock, but we appreciate them coming tonight and giving of their time. So our first point of business is emergency. We're gonna have Chris, I'm gonna mess up your name, last name, Blinzinger, talk to us about the Provo Orem neighborhood preparedness classes. There are flyers for this on the table in the back. If you want to learn more about emergency preparedness and the risks that we have in this area, specifically flooding, or you can come on up. I'm just introducing you. Flooding, earthquakes, things like that. But Chris is going to talk to us about the classes that are coming up, and we encourage you to take those if you can.
Hello, everyone. I'm Chris Blinzinger. Thank you for having me tonight. I'm here to talk about our community preparedness meetings. We have partnered with Orem City when we were doing our community outreach. We were doing the CERT program for a while. We kind of lost some of our volunteer support for that. COVID kind of we switched gears to include everyone instead of committing people to a 9-week program once a week. For 30 people, we can get 50 people a month in our meeting on a variety of topics. And so there's a schedule back there. Next, in 2 weeks, we're doing fire extinguisher training. As she mentioned, we talk about some of our hazards, vulnerabilities, threats, kind of how emergency management works, some of our partners that we work with through our planning process. And I do get approached by folks who are working in their neighborhoods or in a faith-based organization to get more prepared or figure out how to do those things. I was doing that last week on a Saturday for a preparedness fair, and I'm open to do those things, make presentations or talk about what you want me to talk about. My information is Rachel has it, she can post it up there. But to be aware, get a kit, make a plan, be informed, be involved, get engaged. And that's the guidance we have from our Be Ready campaign. We have a variety of topics from you are the help until the help arrives, winter preparedness, some financial preparedness, winter preparedness, ham radio basics. We've got any ham radio operators in the room. We're working on still recruiting for our Provo auxiliary communication team, who will be our helpers in emergency communications during a big disruption in the city. Also, we are in the planning stages of putting on a citywide, or as many as we can get, communication exercise. It's going to be April 16th. We've got a planning team to get ready for that. And this is basically, we have people checking on their neighbors, and we check on people or just make contact with them. And that information gets back up to the city with our ham radio operators in an organized manner. The moonshot is to get the whole city involved. If we can get several neighborhoods or districts involved our first year, we've got some good help from a nationally recognized planner who's done these in multiple jurisdictions here along the Wasatch front. So we're excited about that. If you have any questions, anyone got questions? Yes, ma'am.
Do we just show up?
You just show up, and you've got the Orem EOC there, Emergency Operations Center. That's where the meetings are. And the most people I've had in a meeting is about 95. If we can have 20 people there, that's great. Sometimes we've seen less than that, but it kind of determined by what's going on in the country. What's the news, but what's buzzing in the news? We see big things that could affect us. We see more folks showing up for that. But it's a great opportunity. We do have the topics listed, but we are open to other topics, other discussions, we have Q&A a lot. So yeah, just show up. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
On the website as a PDF.
It's not a PDF. It's more of, and there's little tiles for the different classes.
Is there a way to get this emailed as a PDF? Because then it's easier for me to distribute to my area.
Sure. Rachel, you've got this digitally?
Yes.
And you can send that to her?
Yes.
To the whole board, maybe?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Great. Anything else? Do you know why an elephant doesn't ride a bike? Because he doesn't have a thumb to ring the bell.
Standard. Great. Hi, guys. Thanks for being here. Next on the agenda is our city councilor Jeff with a few minutes for a city council update.
All right. Amazing to see everyone out here tonight. It's great that we can gather as a community of people who care about our East neighborhood or collection of neighborhoods. I've been asked to give an update on a number of topics, and towards the end, if you think I missed any, please let me know, and so I can get you the information you needed. So I'm going to talk about the city council priorities. You probably have seen some of that already, but just kind of, if you haven't, want to make sure you're aware of that. We'll talk about the Slate Canyon conservation easement, Buckley draw update, Spring Creek Elementary School zone, Upper Bicentennial Park, Slate Canyon Drive crosswork, and then feedback and questions. So that's what we'll go through. I have 15 minutes. Is that right?
Yeah, if any question time.
Okay, amazing. Keep me on track. All right, so if we go to the next slide, Rachel. So these are the three city council priorities for the fiscal year, which goes from June to the following June, fiscal year 27. So homeownership, that's a continuation from the previous year, which the city has done a great job in the past on. We're trying to increase opportunities for homeownership. Primarily, we're going to start with trying to get a better understanding of some of the housing trends in our city by doing kind of a comprehensive housing stock analysis and use that as a baseline for some of the plans that we'll do going forward. Economic development, this is something that I'm really excited about. We're working to come up with a guiding economic development strategy document for our city, which is something we historically haven't had. We've mostly had like land usage maps, which is like the general plan, but we haven't had more of a thematically focused strategy. So we're really excited to be working on that and we'll share some updates. And then finally, code enforcement, making sure that we're able to ensure code compliance at a higher degree than we have historically, which is something we know matters a lot to people. Councilor Garrett or Councilor McKay, would you add anything to that? All right, okay, good summary there. Okay, awesome. Okay, we'll go to the next one. So Slate Canyon conservation easement is something that I think was a really big issue in the campaign. We know the neighborhood meeting where we talked about the water park. It's something that I care personally about, so just want to give an update on this. So it's currently being worked on by the city, CUV, and Utah Open Lands. We actually had a meeting with all those parties today. It was a very productive meeting. I think you'll start to see more discussions happening about this in more public forums where you can weigh in on that. Is that something that you support and that we want to do to ensure that Slate Canyon remains forever wild, while still allowing the ability to construct a park on about 20 acres of the land the city owns there. So next slide. Buckley Draw Housing Project update. So wanted to give an update on this is essentially the TLDR, the slide has more details, but the TLDR is that there's a pole kind of blocking the channel that they're creating to ensure that if there's ever a catastrophic fire or rain event again, that doesn't hit the church like it did last time. And so that pole is actually Rocky Mountain Power is responsible for it. So we're working to move it so that the debris channel can get finished. And there won't be, the city will not issue any building permits until the channel is completed and up to the design standards. And so currently construction on the development is paused until that's done. And the city is estimating about that approval will happen soon. And then once that approval happens, it'll be about 30 days to complete the channel, and then construction will continue on the homes. So that's the update on Buckley Draw. Spring Creek Elementary School zone. This is something that Spring Creek Elementary School just had a community council meeting, and they care a lot. There's no school zone in that area, and it's a pretty wide road coming downhill. It's pretty fast. It's a big concern for the administration of that school and a lot of the members there. So I got some information on that. So basically, they've done a study, and we need, I'm not sure why it's this precise. I'm still learning how the city works, but we need 11 more students to cross regularly before we can get a crosswalk there. And then once we get a crosswalk there, we can commission a study to do the school zone, which would be the reduced speeds that you would normally have around a school. So the anticipation, the current plan is as soon as the Buckley Draw development is complete and those houses are occupied, we'll get well over the 11 students needed. We'll do the crosswalk and then they'll have the school zone. Next slide. So this is something that I made a little graphic that has kind of come to my attention is this is one crosswalk and that's another crosswalk, and there's about 1.5 miles. We've talked a lot about Slate Canyon Drive in this neighborhood. But it's a road that historically has pretty fast speeds on it, and there's a 1.5 mile gap between any crosswalks. And so and also the sidewalk ends on one side. So city is looking at the possibility of being able to add a crosswalk somewhere in there. But we need to pick a specific intersection to do a traffic study on to justify the crosswalk. So that is a question that I have. If you can go to the next slide. Rachel, thank you. I need a clicker.
There is a clicker.
Oh, there is. I'm sorry, I'm making you work. Oh, this is so much better. Sorry. Okay, so, and then look, I even have a laser pointer. Wow, we're fancy here. So basically, here's one crosswalk, here's another crosswalk. This is 1.5 miles. But there's, as you can see, there's a lot of potential places you could put them, and we need to pick one of these areas to do the traffic study on. So if you have feedback or care about this, the board can ask for a traffic study to be done. I think we get how many, like 5 per year?
Yes.
5 per year. So if that's something that people are interested in, I'll go to the next slide. I'd be actually curious to know, actually, I'll just pause here. Does anyone have any thoughts or insight on this?
Do we need the number of students before we do the traffic study though?
No, they're independent.
Okay.
So I don't have a map, but the crosswalk that we're talking about would be like here in front of the school. This is just somewhere on Slate Canyon Drive so that people can cross safely without having to walk 1.5 miles.
Yeah, like right where your 1.5 miles is, so it's like Nevada and 1280, I believe. There's a bus stop there that a lot of kids access, coming down from Canyon Meadows and up from Nevada or along the canyon there.
Yeah, because Vern basically said, point us to an intersection because he's quite interested in doing a traffic study, but just wants to make sure we're doing the right intersection.
Big crossing might up in my vote.
If you have any additional thoughts you want to send them later, by all means, please do.
Yeah,
Yes.
a question.
Sorry, yes.
Can we only study one intersection? Can we study multiple intersections at the same time?
Well, we can, but the ask from Vern is that we pick one.
I got it.
Okay, we're almost through this, and then we can, what was that? 7 minutes, okay, I'm doing good. Upper Bicentennial Park, this was something that was promised as part of the selling of the property for the Buckley Draw development, that the proceeds from that sale of city land would be used to finish the park. So 192,000 of that did get budgeted in this current fiscal year to help do the engineering and the concept plan redesign for this park. However, because of the mudslide, that work needs to get pushed back until all the geotechnical engineering on the debris basin and the ultimate basin is finished. So that'll probably get pushed into next year, and the money needs to be rebudgeted into next year, and that process will get kicked off. So I'll make sure, I will personally, I care a lot about this. I'll personally make sure that, we try to make that happen. And then when that does happen, it's a process where the community is involved in as we work on that concept plan. Other citywide issues that are not specific to District 2 is that are kind of live is Walmart. We get a lot of emails as council, just a generic council email from a lot of residents about Walmart. I've not heard much from District 2. So if you have thoughts on this, we'd love to hear it. Mall redevelopment. Come again?
What about Walmart?
No, it's just a potential development being looked at. There was a planning commission meeting on it about a year ago. It's on the intersection of I-15 and Lakeview Parkway. And so it's that development that was on the planning commission. There's been some developments, but that's the gist of it. And so just thoughts on that project. So it is very close to District 2, though not technically in District 2. I should say East District. Sorry, Rachel. It's close to East District. So another thing that there was a recent planning commission on the mall redevelopment. But if you haven't seen that, Julie did some amazing notes about that. I guess we're not calling it a mall anymore.
It's not, it's a outdoor mixed use environment
Something like that.
is the words they used.
We need a better outdoor mall.
Kind of a long title.
Let's go get it. I think we can just call it an outdoor mall. No, I'm just joking. So yeah, check that out if you hadn't. There's some notes available on Provo Forward and some other places on that, or you can watch the planning commission meeting about it. And then Provo River the city council just recently changed the minimum setback requirements from 40 feet to 100 feet from the river. And then we're also working on doing some development standards. So essentially trying to come up with a comprehensive plan and guidelines for as some of the properties are either developed or redeveloped on the river, that they sort of match some of the new community interests of incorporating the river as part of Provo's identity and as like a community asset instead of something that like just needs to kind of be hidden behind stuff. So if you have thoughts on that, please do. There's currently a working group meeting happening now, actually on that I'm going to go to right after this. So I'll actually be leaving just a little bit early. And so if you have thoughts, I'd love to hear them on that. And I'll share my contact information at the end of this presentation if you want to email me or call me. I'll stop there. Any questions? How much more time do we have? 3 minutes. Yes.
Crosswalk on Slate Canyon, are we talking paint on the ground, or are we talking?
Just probably
flagging,
paint, just probably paint.
flashing
Yeah.
lights, like on night?
I think Vern would say it depends on what the traffic study indicates, but yeah, but a designated crosswalk. Yep.
Could you clarify what's happening with the water park thing?
Okay, nothing is currently happening. Basically what it was how long?
Yeah, I was, yeah.
A year ago or closer was that neighborhood meeting. Some developers are interested in developing it. One of the things that I think the reasons why you do conservation easement is when a community says like this land is super valuable to us to be for a while. Let's make it so that no future, city council or whatever can sell the land essentially. I think it was really great that came around election year because it was well loud and clear heard that people did not want the water park there. And so trying to continue some of that momentum.
Okay, along those same lines, though, people in our area love the water park.
Yeah.
And they indicated in that meeting that it was in disrepair and needed substantial updates and improvements. Is Provo City working with them to encourage them to stay? Or have you-
Yeah, like trying to reinvest in, I don't know. That's a great question. I will take that as news.
My area is interested in that not going away.
As am I. I love that water park. Yes.
I just represent Zoom, so this is a Zoom comment. This says, this isn't a question, but it's just might be helpful for people to know that the mall redevelopment has not gone to a recent planning commission hearing, but it was presented at the work meeting last week. And I will add on to that.
Good point.
It is expected maybe to go to a planning commission in March.
March, yes, that's correct.
So
Thanks for clarifying. My apologies. Any other questions?
Well, thank you.
Okay, wait, hold on. I got one more slide.
Yep,
Hold on. Oh, it's not working. Raise-
Sorry.
There we go. Okay, so thank you so much. I plan to do these on most East District meetings if you found them valuable. So please give the board feedback if you found it valuable. And please feel free to contact me if you have any follow-up questions or feedback on any of the specific items that we talked about, or just generally, hey, I think you should be following this issue like what you just mentioned. Or you think that I'm thinking about something wrong and you want to tell me why. I appreciate it. Thank you. Yes.
Sorry, I was late. Did you talk about Slate Canyon parking situation?
That is a big topic later to this.
Yeah.
Yes. Number one topic. Yeah, I specifically did not talk about that. All right, thanks everyone.
Meeting just for that.
I'm staying for the parking discussion and then I got.
Guys, buckle up. We're gonna talk about parking.
And Ruth,
Yes.
we want to recognize that Mayor Judkins has come in for our meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome, Mayor. And I wasn't here, but did we recognize our 3 city councilors here also? Thank you all for being here. I know you don't get paid enough to come, so I don't think you get paid enough to do your job, but we appreciate you doing it anyway. Right, I am on it. Okay, we have music time for me. So thank you all for being here. My name is Ruth Eldridge Thomas. I'm the current chair of the East District for like 25 more minutes. So to go out on a bang, in hearing your request, put a parking item on the agenda. I just want to remind you of a couple of things. First of all, I think the best use of this forum and this time can be a feedback discussion for issues surrounding parking on the street in our various neighborhoods. Just for some context, we have a variety of different parking scenarios throughout the district. We have permit parkings in some areas. We have one street that is different house by house. We have no parking on Slate Canyon and other areas of the city. There are lots of reasons for this. What I think the best use of this time will be is to get some kind of big idea feedback about what's going on, what the problems are. We're very glad to have so many members of the city here to be able to listen to this, so it doesn't have to necessarily be filtered through us. That said, I think one of the best ways that this can go forward is to do as much talking as we are listening. And what I'm going to try to do here is just kind of map out the ideas and thoughts that we have, so that we can, each of us kind of get a bigger understanding of what's going on. I realize this is like a just big quality of life issue. It's also a highly emotional issue. And I hope that we can use this forum to kind of get a sense for what other people in our community are thinking about, the issues that might be facing, and some of the things that they've been facing in the past that changes have fixed. We're also aware that streets aren't just for parking, and that there have been issues that have come up on the city council even recently about the need for emergency vehicles to get through and other things that we kind of need to be thinking about. So again, what I'd like to do is open up the forum. If we use the microphones, will that be?
Okay, so we have the 5-minute presentation from parking that's supposed to be first. And they're just going to explain about the permit cost breakdown if you have the a permitting parking in your neighborhood. So they're gonna come talk about that and then we'll open it up.
Perfect, thank you.
Well, while they're coming up, can I ask, are we okay without microphones for everyone? Because it does take a little time to pass them around.
That's a Zoom question.
Zoom, there's ceilings in the mic, so the people on Zoom can actually hear better when we don't use the handheld microphones.
Okay.
Only if you're in the room and you can't hear, we'll use the handheld mic. So speak up.
Speak up and then we don't have to waste time with these. And Mitzi and I can just sit.
I'm sorry.
Okay, first of all, I'm Sandy Bussio. I'm the parking program manager. And this is Gouldin, and he's the parking enforcement supervisor. So we're here just to kind of give a breakdown on the permit parking costs. And he's gonna be my clicker, right? Okay, first of all, we actually have 3 active permit areas in the city. And I did include Carterville. I know that they're not represented today, but it kind of adds into the cost and everything else. So we have Carterville overnight from 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. We have the University Garden North Foothills. Permit is required from 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. and Foothill Park area, where there's no parking overnight, but during the day there is a requirement for a permit if you choose to park there. Okay, this is kind of the breakdown of costs. Now, I know earlier the council has a breakdown. Their costs include everything. All this cost is for parking enforcement per year. I put the officer cost, it's a team effort. There's usually 2 or 3 officers because we have an officer assigned to the permit areas every single day. And so it's a very, very top priority. We have office staff, administration, the vehicle fuel and maintenance. I did not include the cost of the vehicle because we already have them. Paylock is our parking software, Route 1, and the Genetech is the license plate reader, what we enforce with those permits. We have the monthly service fees, the discount, Papley, the tablets, the cell phone, and all parking officers, as of about 6 to 9 months ago, are required by me to wear body counts. And they have been very effective and amazing for our parking officers. And so that kind of is like I say, just for parking enforcement costs. Do you have any questions or any clarifications you want on that real quick?
So is that for neighborhood or like
City.
That is for all of those permit areas. That's why I included Carterville, is because it's all areas.
Only permit area.
That's per year, yes.
Permitted area. How does this compare to previous years?
I have that. Let me go through everything. And then last year in total, the revenue that we collected from the sale of permits was $22,000. So we were well below the cost of our cost to enforce the permit areas. Okay. All right, so this one, if all permits were sold, every permit that was available was sold. Foothill neighborhood, they're eligible for 2 per residence. University Garden is 4 per residence. Carterville is 2 per residence. And I did put Slate Canyon if implemented because it did kind of factor in. And they would be eligible for 1 permit per residence, okay? So if we sold all permits at $100, the revenue would be $174,700. If we sold all permits at $15, it would be $39,040. And I do have to add right here, Carterville, when it was implemented as $100 per permit. They have never been at the $15. Okay, any questions on that one? That seems,
So even with the new areas, you wouldn't have to increase personnel.
excuse me?
Even with the new permitted areas, you wouldn't have to increase personnel costs, correct?
We would because we are not going to sell every permit.
Sure.
Right
Yeah.
now, we have only sold, well, not only, last year in the University Garden area, we sold 491 permits. Okay, so far this year, we've sold 207, which is pretty track on norm. Because permits go from January 1st to December 31st of all year, and we continually sell them, even though all permits will expire on the last day of December.
How do people know if they need it?
If you live in that area, there will be signs. We do have signs that say, a permit is required to park on the city street. Plus, for the last month, for educational purposes, we did it this year, and we've done it pretty much every year that Boden and I have been over the parking. We will give warnings. We're big on education. So if you get a warning from us and you're not sure, call us. But if you're parked on the street and you haven't received a warning or a citation, it should be. Okay, so again, as I said, this included just parking enforcement. Parking enforcement is part of a huge Provo City team that comes into all of this. And so I did not account for these costs. When the city council had costs when they were looking at this during budget, it was different. So we have Public Works. I did not include the costs or the maintenance of any of the signs in the permit areas. Customer service, they are a great group of people. Call center representatives and the cashiers. Police and Metro Dispatch. Most of these, 2 of these permits are overnight. So we are in constant communication with Metro Dispatch because we usually only have 1 parking officer on at a time at night. So again, they need to have that. We have IS for our department and our technical support, other city departments, and the city overhead costs. So again, that's on top of the price that I gave. And one thing about this, and I want to be very, very clear, no one is required to have a parking permit. If you want to park on the city street during permit times, you need a permit or you'll be cited. But if you have room in your driveway, if you don't have vehicles or what have you, you are not required to participate in the parking permit program.
I noticed in the revenue, you were only including permit revenue. You give tickets out.
Yes.
That are expensive.
Yes.
Doesn't that pay for the cost of the enforcement?
It can, but the permit system should not relay on the revenue from a parking citation. Because if a permit system works correctly, we should not, our goal is to not write parking citations there. So you should not factor that in. It does help with overhead costs, like you see. We are not going to get it through the permit revenue. We're not even going to come close. But again, we do not want to count on the citation revenue for the cost of the permits.
Well, where does citation revenue go? And how much is it?
Where does the citation revenue go? General fund. So that's for your place, that's for everything.
Estimate on what it averages?
Say that again, sir.
A rough estimate on yearly what citation revenue is?
The citation revenue just for this area or the citation revenue?
This area.
I don't, I brought everything else, that's one thing, I did not bring that, but I can get it
Ballpark
for you.
guess, I
Huh?
guess.
It's what?
A guess on how much that might be?
That's not our question.
Yeah.
Maybe somebody can get
We can pull that data and get that data for you, absolutely,
Yeah.
Just curious.
absolutely.
That does have an impact.
Any other questions?
If the sales of the permits can't continue to support the program, will they be would the programs be discontinued, or how will that impact?
I think we would need to look at it when Foothill and University Garden was implemented in 2007. And we're just now looking at, 20 years later. So I think it's something that the city sees as important. I feel like the permit in the University Garden has been a huge success. I hear a lot from Foothill as well doing water. Carterville, they have helped, and it helps with over occupancy. I don't think the city's just gonna get away with it. I mean, we're a city service. We're going to do what the neighborhoods want. But again, there does come times when we need to look at it to see if it's sustainable.
Thank you. Is this a good time to transition to kind of a wider discussion, which you're welcome to stay, or?
She had a quick transition.
How you define success was my question, and you're saying you're being able to identify those who shouldn't be living in the area because of all these.
Yes, and support from the neighborhood, from calls and interactions, and when I do the permits. That's how I deem success, is feedback from the community.
This is a Zoom comment, just to note that they have felt that the parking citations in the Foothills neighborhood has been increased in the most they've ever experienced in the past 10 years, in the past 6 months, and that's just to know. So I don't know if
Our parking citations have increased.
they just felt like the parking citations have been more aggressive in the last 6 months than the previous 10 years.
Like being ticketed the minute.
There's a question there, that was just a comment, and I just am trying to voice the Zoom comments.
Thank you.
Yeah, like I say, we have an officer there during these permit times, so maybe that's what they're saying. And thank you.
If you'd considered the lower number of permits being purchased at $100 versus almost twice as many at the older rate, maybe it'll just end up being a wash as far as revenue.
Right. Now, remember though, permits have only been on sale for a month. We will sell permits all throughout the year. I'm interested to see the number of permits that was sold in the calendar year of 2026.
Thank you.
And so right now, I've done this for a while. We're pretty well on track from previous years.
Thank you. Okay. Will there be a situation where you consider just making the permit the whole year cycle rather than just a calendar year?
And that would be something that we could look at with the city council. Right now, city code, all permits go from January 1st to December 31st. Yeah.
We're at 15 minutes. Yeah, we're kind of Are there any questions directly for the parking permit? Please go ahead.
Yeah, I live in the university neighborhood with the permit, and what I'm hearing from all my neighbors and what I'm feeling is that you go from $15 to park at your own home jumps to $100. A lot of people only have one car driveway and maybe 2 adults plus 3 teenagers. That's so expensive. And when you say it's not required to get one, do you want us parking on our lawns? Like, if we get
For that too.
what?
You'll be cited for that.
Cited for that too. And the parking ticket cops are ticketing our own children. They come home for a Sunday dinner and 10:01, they are out there and our boys will run out and say, well, we'll move our car. And they say, nope. And they give them a ticket. They're not being merciful. And this is supposed to be for us so that all the apartments that are around us that don't have enough parking, they're parking at our homes. This parking was supposed to be to help us, but it's not helping us if the parking tickets are ticketing our own kids, if we're having to pay $500 a family. It just seems a little crazy and insane to me. And that's what a lot of my neighbors are saying. And they're not buying the ticket because they cannot afford it.
Let me answer that question. The entire month of January, we have been giving warnings for that neighborhood. The entire month of January, all permit citations have been warnings. Now, if you've received 2 warnings within a 2-week period, that's when we kick in the citations. But every vehicle that we're issuing the entire month of January have been warnings. Just to
I'm
inform
not talking
you.
about January. I'm just talking about how they treat my kids if they're 1 minute late. It's just, I feel like it's not something that's benefiting our neighborhood anymore. I feel like we're just being targeted. It feels really unjust to go from 15 to 100, especially when you're not including that you're making a lot of money on the tickets. You're not including that. I think that's really unfair.
Yeah, if I could add to that, I think this, the city can be more consistent in how the times are, right? Over by Splash Summit, it's like 2 to 6 a.m. or whatever on that street. On our street, it's 12 to 6 a.m. On theirs, it's 10 to 6 a.m.
It's too early.
I mean, a 12 to 6 a.m. definitely would be a lot better, because that says, hey, you're not parking overnight, right? Who's moving their car from 2 to 6 a.m. If they're shuffling, then I guess let them shuffle. But seeing more consistency across the city of what those times actually are might be more beneficial as well. Because I had that same problem on Slate Canyon where I had a friend whose brother was over watching a soccer game, 12:01 last October, ticket, you know.
And I would like to more consistency. That would help us out a lot. I think when these permit systems were implemented, it was the neighborhood that came to the council and says, this is what we want. And so maybe as neighborhoods or something with the council, that's what, maybe we can look at. When we did Slate Canyon, we tried to do Slate Canyon similar to Alpine Loop.
Yeah.
So it was again, that consistency. But I know what you're saying. And at 12:01, I'm a little nervous, and at 10:01, I'm a little nervous because usually we're given 5 or 10 minutes. But again, it's not up to the officers to define the law. The law. They have to look at it. And we do try, Sunday dinner is something that we're sensitive to. And so I do have parking officers on Sunday night for that reason. And I'll be honest there. We don't have them working on Sunday. They do come in at 4 a.m. on Monday. So if cars are parked there Sunday night, we'll get them at
A birthday party, any family event, they really don't care if it's your kid. They just, at 10 a.m. is way too early.
Yeah, well, that's something, like I said today, I think this is a good point to kind of move into sort of a brainstorming and feedback. So thank you so much for coming and answering questions. And we'd love to be able to so what we'd like to do, guys, we have like 7 minutes left, but I'd like to be able to get some of these thoughts and at least get them on the board. And so that we can all be kind of thinking about them and develop kind of like a strategic view of what happens. One thing personally that I'm concerned about from a strategy standpoint is if we all walk out of here saying permit program has run its course, it's done for us, then it goes away. and then all of these problems come back that the program was trying to solve, then we might be kind of running into issues again that are really kind of hard. It's kind of hard to put the genie back in the bottle. So I'd really like this to be, suggest that it be kind of a continued feedback session where we can talk about these issues and give some gestation on them. Can we go Trisha, Mitzi, Ann, and Zoom?
I'm backing up just a minute in a broader picture to see what happens in the tree streets, which are not under these regulations, where where they have put out signs, the neighbors have paid to put out signs, they've done it themselves to say, no BYU parking here. They've taken the initiative and it seems to have worked for them, and they are not subject to what we are subject to on 820 and 1200. And they have some of the same problems. The other comment I have, as far as maybe the city has seen some success in being able to take those who are illegally putting too many people in a home. But you and I know that what's happening is often they are then buying homes, they are cementing the place that normally would have grass, and they're putting their cars there. And that's happening all over our neighborhood, and parking programs have nothing, they do not affect that at all. The other, I am supportive of a more of a year to year, whereas a neighbor, as we know, the Brinkerhoffs, they got a car in December. One of their teenagers was able to purchase a car, and they wanted $100 just for 4 weeks. And that seems unreasonable. So those are just a couple of comments. I just feel like, I've been here for almost 50 years now, 49, and seeing that there's other factors that is putting pressure that the parking program is supposed to solve, and it's not solving it. It's just causing problems for us as community members.
Guys, we're running, are you telling me it's time?
Well, that, and I was gonna say, if you can keep comments to about 90, 60, 90 seconds, so we can get more comments in. And I'm gonna pass out cards.
My favorite 3x5 card.
Anybody that wants a.
Issues, right now, I just want to be able to get as much as we can going. Where were we going? Mitzi, Ann, and
Zoom.
Comments that were just made in the one before. I think often with legislation, you have unintended consequences.
Yes.
So it's not a negative thing to revisit it, even if it means putting the genie back in the bottle. If the legislation was intended to address a topic, and now that it's been implemented, it's not solving the problem, or it's creating more problems we didn't see. Let's have an open mind, and maybe we start at ground zero again.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you. Can I put that under has it run its course? Or
unintended consequences.
Unintended what?
Good. Ann, please go ahead.
Originally, the parking program was because of kind of localized areas where students were encroaching into the neighborhood. And there are I think there are a lot of us in the Foothills neighborhood that aren't impacted by that student overnight parking, right? And yet we're still under the parking program. And I'm wondering if it might be good to revisit which streets are actually included in the parking program,
Right.
because as I
And then you
understand it, we can carve out individual streets.
Okay, possible to
So
parse
reduce
out.
the area
Realign
that's
the
actually
boundaries,
in a
probably.
parking program.
Please go ahead.
Okay, I have a number of them, but I'll be so quick, so I'm just gonna go through them all. First is the possibility of a neighborhood getting less expensive visitor passes instead of resident passes. The next one is, what if we didn't have patrols, so parking enforcement, but instead have households self-report if there's a car parked overnight in front of their house? Would that or some other way cut down on cost and frustrations? Another one, I live on Slate Canyon Drive. We only have one family living in our house, but we're about to have 2 teenage drivers and are at a loss where they will park their car. Houses on Slate Canyon have very small driveways, and even when you are not over occupying, the houses in this neighborhood don't have enough parking. When we have family visit for the weekend, we are parking on neighboring streets to make it work. And then one more. Why isn't every neighborhood charged for street parking? It seems ironic that the older neighborhoods who suffer the most from small driveways and no garages have to foot the bill for local apartment complexes not providing enough parking.
Any more comments?
I have one question.
Please go.
Would it be possible, this is just a theoretical question, does not require an answer tonight. But in future developments, maybe, I know that you're looking at streets, which we'll get to, but like more parking off street, like in those developments, you know what I mean? This Slate Canyon, most of those homes do have room for 4, if 2 in the garage, 2 in the drive. My street really is like 2 in the drive kind of thing, and it's tandem, or maybe that's the right term. But maybe that's something in with new developments coming in that the city planning commission can look at.
Yeah, I think there's a presumption there that parking on the street is not a good thing, which I would question personally, but
I'm not saying it's not, but
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Guys, we're running a little late on time. Is that right?
About 4 minutes.
We have 4 minutes. Guys, yes, please.
Mike, what about unique circumstances like a home health aid system or something like that? Would be,
Yeah. Can we put in other extenuating circumstances? I know one of the issues that's come up over and again with the kind of Foothills 7 Peaks people is that they have a 2-hour policy as well. So like a dinner party is basically impossible unless people don't drive cars, which we'd love for more options to not be able to do that. More, yes.
I was able to meet with Sandy yesterday, actually, and she explained to me that they usually are having different parking enforcement officers monitor for about 8 hours per day, all the different parking permit programs. And so just maybe asking if they could figure out some ways to make it a little bit more efficient, so they're spending less time, but still being effective in monitoring parkings and just lowering the costs to actually monitor.
Okay, cost reduction strategies. Good, thank you. Other comments?
Just to follow up, I'm in the tree streets and that's still the #1 issue. I just want to say it's not solved by those signs. I think there's still people that say, why are we allowing overnight parking? And other people saying, why are people complaining about all this parking on the street? So just so you know, I think that there might be a good balance that they've reached, but it still is, nobody finds it perfect.
But they are not paying $100.
No, you're right.
A driveway to wide, which
Yeah, but some people may rather, some people would like that option.
More comments? This side. Yeah, Andrew.
I have just a process question. It feels like lots of people are grumpy. We all want good things. We want a program that serves residents. So what's a good process to sort of like recenter ourselves on kind of like founding principles that then if we can articulate the right principles, then kind of like hold up program options against those so that we know if we're making progress?
Yeah, I think that, I mean, from what I can say, my kind of a vision for a process is to try to figure out what some founding principles are. That's kind of what I'm hoping that we do tonight. And then continue to have discussions that lead us to as close to a consensus as we can about what might actually work or what we're willing to risk for the future.
So we can put in input and then somehow the thing be fed back, say, we think, hearing everybody, we think that the program is supposed to accomplish X, Y, and Z. Here's the standard that we'll use to evaluate options moving forward.
Yeah. Here's some research on the system. Here are other extenuating issues about the cities in terms of street width and other things that are going on. That's kind of my hope for this process. And it's something that Sandy has, over the couple of years that I've been talking to her about, has been very, very open to. Parking program is an elective thing that comes up. The neighborhood has to kind of either institute it or vote to change or get rid of it. So one thing that we need to think about is more ways to kind of to figure out what those next steps are without fatiguing everybody with annoying meetings. Yeah, Malia.
Just a context note, I don't know if this is helpful or not, but the parking permit areas are in city code. So if we were going to change them in any way, it would have to be an ordinance that went through council.
Okay.
So that's just context.
That's helpful. Thank you. So there are multiple steps. Yeah, guys, thank you for your peaceful associations with this topic. Please take more cards so that we want to like keep this up. And I'm going to put these notes in a place where they can be reached and added to over time. I think this is something that, and I please encourage you to kind of listen to what you've heard tonight. Think about it. Think about what your issues are going to be 10 years from now, what they were 10 years ago. and help us to continue to kind of think through this process from a holistic standpoint. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Ruth. Thank you, Ruth.
Thanks, Bruce. Okay, it's me again. Next on the agenda, guys, is an update on a proposal to amend the general plan map from industrial to mixed use process. Is this you, Aaron?
It is.
I'll not finish that sentence. You can kind of explain it to us.
Thank you.
And Aaron, this is still in the review process, is that right?
Correct.
Okay, so
Yes.
this has not been scheduled for planning commission or city council yet.
So for those that don't know, my name is Aaron Ardmore. I'm with Development Services. I'm a planning manager. So I'm just here to give an update on this specific project. Like Rachel said, it's in the review process. It's gone through one staff review so far, so it's very, very early. But it's the Ironton redevelopment project. You might have heard of Springville Rising. A large portion of this project is at Springville, and they're trying to make a corridor between Springville and Provo of a mixed use environment. Next slide. So the applicant has submitted 3 applications: a general plan amendment to shift it from industrial to mixed use. Am I blocking you? Okay. Zone map amendment, which is still kind of up in the air. One of the major comments from the initial review was the mixed use zone doesn't really work for the development plan. So we're helping them understand the different zoning tools that we have that they could choose, trying to lead them towards these 3 zones here that would best, in staff's opinion, fit the project. And then the concept plan. On the next slide, you'll see the concept plan that includes 90 condos currently, 165 townhomes, and almost 16,000 square feet of commercial space. So that's the concept. You'll see the highest density with the brown and the condos on the northeast. All the other yellow and brown further to the west and south are townhomes, and then the commercial pads down on the south end. So that's everything that they've given us so far. Like I said, we've gotten comments back to them. They're reviewing those and should be revising their plans, addressing comments, and resubmitting back to staff. So the staff review process would go again. Then the next steps would be going to planning commission and then to city council. Happy to address any questions that you have on this update.
Was there any progress in the joint sharing of tax
Yes.
revenue with Springville?
Yes, Cody Hill in economic development has had those discussions with Springville's city manager. They've got some ideas that they're working through, and we see a good. So yeah, because a lot of the commercial property is within Springville, and we get a lot of the residential through the mixed use corridor. We said to be able to support this, we need a tax share. Give us some of the sales tax that you're generating in Springville, and we'll share that between the 2 communities. So between Springville City Manager and our Economic Development Department, they're working to work on those numbers to make it fair and equal.
So as a member of the school board, I would just say, can we also be looking at property tax
That's part of the discussion.
coming
actually.
in?
Yeah.
Because I think it's my understanding that commercial usually brings in more than residential, and
Yes.
we want to make sure that we're being able to cover, and it looks like our property is more than theirs. That's part of this, right?
Right, right.
That picture is.
Yeah, so our residential property tax is part of that discussion through the shared.
They can realign, put all the commercial on the State Street side.
Those are some early discussions. They've kind of stuck to this concept though. Yeah.
Aaron, can you just clarify that the black line is that the city?
Yes, that is the city boundary.
I remember seeing this before. Have there been any changes to the concept since a previous version of this, or is this still basically the same concept?
It's basically the same. They've made some minor adjustments from when they were in front of you, this group, months ago.
October?
Yeah. So there's been some slight changes as they kind of refine their plans to submit to the city, but it's basically the same idea that you saw back then.
What street is that going up on the west boundary?
Sierra Vista Way. So that's leading right into our industrial park.
Have they said anything about the size of the condos and townhomes and also for sale or for rent?
They haven't. Those are details that we're looking to get from them after that first review.
Your question, how are all these people gonna have water that we keep inviting into our communities when we're in the biggest drought that we've ever had?
So that is part of this review. So Public Works, our water and sewer department is on this staff review. As this comes in, they evaluate that, they model it and see what kind of infrastructure is available, what kind of infrastructure improvements they would have to bring in.
You mean they're gonna have more rain come down from the sky?
No. Provo is lucky. We've got plenty of water. It's just getting the infrastructure to the units and to the buildings.
Are any of these units covered by affordable housing laws? And the consequential owner occupied versus able to rent legally restrictions that come with affordable housing?
So they haven't offered any of that to us yet. They didn't talk anything about restricted income housing or what percentage would be for sale versus rent.
Because I know that a big goal of yours is home ownership. And so if you limit new development to percentages, 50% of this has to be owner occupied, 50% has to be or can be rented. That can make a difference in reaching those goals.
Yeah.
And that has to be done initially.
Since we started talking to them at the very beginning, we told them that that's a very big priority for Provo, for the city council, for the city itself, to get more for sale owner occupied housing. So hopefully.
And are you aware of the affordable housing laws that require that and working with those? I mean, I'm sure you are, but that would be good to implement with the development.
Right. We're pretty early on to start talking about those things, but yes.
Are those things required before changing the general plan from industrial to mixed use?
No. It wouldn't be.
I have a question, Aaron. Kind of following up on Mitzi's question, one thing that's come up a lot in developments, especially in kind of South and West Provo in the past, are these agreements, developer agreements that in some way limit or encourage owner occupancy or limit the amount of time or require a certain
heights or densities. Right.
Require a certain amount of owner occupancy. Do you have any sense, how are those enforced and how do you know about that? Like
just on the
like somebody signs a paper, but yeah, any kind of these agreements that sort of contract with the developer to guarantee a certain amount of owner occupancy, do they work?
No, they don't.
Well,
You can tell.
Let me answer that.
Historically, they don't.
Okay, so it's done by deed restriction on the properties themselves and with CCNRs. This will have an HOA, so they'll have CCNRs.
What's the CCNRs?
Codes, covenants, and restrictions.
Okay.
That all the homeowners have to, or property owners have to live by. So between those two things, and then the city restricting rental licensing on those are the tools that the city council has used so far. A lot of these projects that were approved with those rules haven't been fully occupied yet, so it's a little early to tell how successful those tools will be.
And the developers indicated the proposed cost of home ownership.
They haven't.
Concerned about the traffic on State Street. I've sat more than once through 3 light cycles trying to go south on State.
Yeah, definitely a traffic study will be required with this before it gets in the public hearing.
And I think, aren't some of the exits on, what is that road? 1400 North? Is it 1400 North that some of the exits?
No, there's only the street access here would be allowed.
Okay.
So then there's, I believe they've shown pretty much the street network here with, I believe, one more exit here that they'd have to get UDOT approval for.
Can you walk us through kind of next steps from your office, what you're?
Yeah, so we're waiting for revisions from their team. We'll take those again through a staff review. Hopefully they've addressed all of our comments and concerns. If that's the case, we would schedule it for planning commission when it comes.
But can you go through a couple of the concerns that your office had?
The big one is you haven't identified a zone that helps this concept work. So I'm expecting at least another round of reviews after this next one because they're gonna have to submit what zone they ask for. We're gonna have to analyze it to that zone, and there's probably gonna be some adjustments from that. So we like to usually get these done in 2-step reviews. This one might take 3.
Any other questions?
Just read. Okay, appreciate your time.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Aaron. Thanks for make a chair comment really quick that, like, we asked these guys to come from the city council and from the city administration, and it's a little bit outside of their 40 to 50 or more hours. So we really appreciate them coming, and I really appreciate your positive and constructive feedback for that. It makes it a lot easier to follow up with them later when we have it. That said, we like hard questions, so we like them done in a productive way. We're a little bit ahead. The next thing that we need to do is board elections.
We don't elect.
We don't.
Announcing.
We're just announcing.
Because only
Okay.
4 people put in.
Okay, I will announce. So what happens is that there's a board that's appointed. You can know that you can make applications to the board through city council. And as you see, there are some seats that are unfilled because people aren't here, but there are also some seats that will be coming up vacant on 2-year and 4-year cycles, which is next year. So from this board that represents each of the neighborhoods in our district, we elect a presidency who is in charge of running these meetings and going to city council or planning meetings and basically organizing us so that you guys come here. These are non-repeatable positions, meaning that you can be elected 1 year, but it's a 1-year term and then you have to take a year off before you can.
Only the chair is not.
Only the chair is that. You guys, I am a bastion of information that may or may not be accurate. So because 3 people were nominated for 3 positions, these have been done by default. So next year, shall I introduce Angie Carter? We said Angie Carter will be our chair for next year. Angie Carter lives in the Provo. And Catherine Hall and I will be your vice chairs, which means that we'll do things that Angie tells us to. Ashley will yet again be our secretary, which is an extremely important role. Yes, so thank you very much. That's everything that we have to do on that one, guys. We're ahead of schedule. So the next item on the agenda is our Slate Canyon Day and an update on the matching grants. Just as a little bit of background, we are allotted 75. Oh, look, 75. We can apply as a district for $7,500 a year for improvement projects within the district. Often this is kind of a seed money that then we kind of look for other money to do other things with. You'll be surprised at how much things like street signs and park benches and concrete cost, but those are some of the things that we've been working on. So Catherine Hall's going to give us an update on this year's grant and some from last year's grant as well. Thanks.
So last year, well, the previous year, we had done a park bench for Slate Canyon as well as bike racks. They are now both fully installed. The bike rack was previously installed. They had some complaints about the location. Provo Parks had to uninstall it for a new cement pad and reinstall it. So that's why that took a little bit longer than we expected. But last year, I'm trying to think. Oh, we had given Provo Park some extra dollars that we had because we did the studies for Wasatch Elementary on streets and those signs that tell you your speed versus the speed it's supposed to be. And this traffic studies only showed that they needed 1. Okay, so we paid for that one, which is installed. And we had some extra funds, which we gave to Provo Parks and Rec. Ideally for some more, they wanted to put a swing bench up at Slate Canyon. There were some issues last year. There was a tremendous amount of destruction within our parks, which is really sad to hear. They had toilets blown up in one park. They had a another park was caught on fire 3 different times. Graffiti was just rampant in the parks. So they weren't able to get to use that money, so they kind of gifted it back to us, which we still have those funds. They have asked if we could give that back to them because they do want to, with the success of the swing bench down at the, I always call it the Delta Way. It's not the Delta Way. What is it, Rachel? Is it Delta?
River Delta.
River Delta.
I don't know.
The Provo River Delta Park, okay? I'm sure that's not the correct term, but with the success of that, they do want to go forward with installing one up at Slate Canyon, which is initially where it was supposed to go. So they've asked if we could give that money back. Those swings are $7,200. Now, if you want to know, a bench is incredibly expensive, we found out. And the ones that they install are heavy duty in the parks, especially up at Slate Canyon, because that's a more remote area. So, we don't want them damaged. So the money that they've asked to give back to them, like we gave it to them, they gave it back because they weren't able to get to it. And we still have that funds. They're asking if they could have it again, in order to go forward with that swing bench. It would be about half, I think.
Yeah, I think it was about $3,600 that
Yeah,
they
and
gave
the swing
back.
bench is about 72. So we would be funding about half of it from that money that was unused from the previous grant. So do we need to make a motion to, yeah.
Right, if the residents want to use their grant money for that idea.
Question, if you can have 2 benches for the cost of 1 swinging bench.
I don't.
They're more fun, Trisha. They're more fun.
That is true, 100%.
It's a swing bench.
Yeah.
So it's a bench that swings back and forth. So
There's one at the Delta?
yeah. Yeah, it's
They're
really
fun.
They're fun. They're cool. We had intended to put one in last year. It just didn't happen because Provo Parks was just so inundated
I don't
with
think you're saying.
destruction within the parks that they were just constantly doing repair work. I mean, like if you, Rock Canyon Park, they're always replacing rocks because people are throwing them at the water tower or someplace else. So there's like little damage that gets done. So a couple hands go up, I'm not gonna name names, but there's even small damage costs the city money to repair. So we need to be conscious of, like, if you see it, report it. Even my little neighborhood park, which serves just a really small area of Provo, was, I mean, they spray painted like half of the one side of the fence. You know what I mean? And so I watched them go down there trying to scrub that off. And it's just the man hours, the cost of trying to take care of that. So anyway, they're just asking for the money that we gave them previously to be gifted back to them again for that purpose. So yes.
As a resident who lives near Slate Canyon, I will say I do not want a $7,200 bench. I feel like that money could be allocated towards better, more creative ways of using it. Again, a little more bang for our buck.
Yeah. So the reason we do benches up there, this one is a little bit more fun, right? But the reason we do benches up there, we did a bench and a bike rack. One was because they didn't have a place to put their bikes when they were using the restroom, right? So if you're up there biking, there was no place to secure your bike. The first bench we put up there was because we were trying to keep people off the fence, because every year, and this ties into our next subject, which is Slate Canyon Days, they have to repair that fence every year. And so if we get benches up there, and it doesn't specifically have to be that bench, but it takes people from sitting on the fence to the benches. Does that make sense? So there is kind of a reason behind why we do benches up in that area. But I do take your point. Like maybe we could get 2 regular benches or something. We'll see.
Or a couple of big rocks. That would be a little cheaper.
There are rocks up there, but that's not where people sit. They sit on the fence. They watch, people go up there to watch the sunset, right? I mean, that's one of the reasons. That's not the only reason. Yes.
What are some other options we have?
So specifically for the money that we gifted to the park before, it would just be like the regular benches that you sit on along the street or in any other park. Like,
Is there any other, aside from seating arrangement, is there any other things that people
those are
to use this for?
Pardon me? Well, this is just a portion. This is a portion that we gave them previously they set back because they weren't able to get to it. They asked if we could give it back to them.
And to be clear, it's not this fiscal year.
It's not this fiscal year's, it's not this 7,500.
Can we combine the 2 years to like purchase something bigger or,
Yeah.
is that allowed? We can do anything with this money, right?
Yeah, well,
Technically,
kind
not
of, sort
anything,
of,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
Okay.
Kind of,
I just
sort of.
thought, is it like earmarked for a bench?
So one of the other
Trying
things
to get at.
for me personally that I love, we try and do something in every neighborhood that we represent as a district. It gets a little tough, like Rock Canyon. We had a discussion about shade sales, and there was something with the way the ground is actually the layers of the ground that it makes it very difficult to do that up there. And so that's something.
We got a price estimate.
Okay. That has not been given to me, so I didn't know that.
200,000.
200,000. So it could be done, but it would take many, many years.
So
Or 7,500.
Can I just break it really quick? Like, as you can see, this like $3,000 or even $12,000 goes really quickly. So I think one of the best things that we found in the past that we can do this with this money is sort of help use it for goodwill projects for other city projects that are going on, or use it to leverage funds from other sources to be able to kind of do bigger projects. So those are things. The problem with these is they take a whole lot of time for like a pretty small guarantee of what could actually happen. So I think something like, from my perspective, something like this bench would it would end up being a bench that you may or not like, right? But it also kind of helps us in the longer term develop a better relationship with Parks and Recreation and help us leverage bigger funds to make sure that things like the whole park gets built, or to help calm traffic in one certain area, so that the city can then come back and say, look, the neighborhood invested in this with what they had, so that makes it easier for them to invest.
Especially with the conservation easement becoming an issue this year, which this community came out so strongly against the sale of Slate Canyon, sorry, I have a little bit of a frog in my throat. When we show as a neighborhood, we are invested in that area, it helps get the conservation easement through. So that's another reason to consider it.
But it's a different issue, whether people are invested in there, that's great. But I still think it's a really good question. Is the best use? You really have to spend $7,200
We could
on that.
2 other small benches. The point is to get some seating up there and some amenities up there. One, it helps with, I've spoken to Open Lands and Conservation or Conserve Utah Valley, and they tell us all the time, the more we invest, the easier it is to show people that this is something we want, is the conservation easement up there. I'm not saying necessarily funds, because we have Slate Canyon Days coming up, which is a volunteer situation, but it doesn't have to be that. Let's put it this way. Could we have a motion to just return the money back to Provo Parks, and not necessarily for that swing, but to do that? Sorry, Rachel.
I was just going to say, so East District has $11,814 in grant funding. That's what was left over from last year plus this year. And anyone can apply for this grant funding to improve your community. There's applications online. So if you have an idea, the rules are it has to beautify your community. It can't be a fountain for your backyard. It's got to be something where your whole community can enjoy it.
And visible.
Right.
Like if Rachel can drive down the street and see it.
Right.
That's how we kind of gauge that.
Right. And so every district, every neighborhood does something different. Sometimes they do the, slow down signs. Sometimes they paint a bunch of houses in their neighborhood. Sometimes they re-landscape an area that they don't like. It's always one of the problems with the grant program is if you're doing anything on private property, you have to put out the money yourself and then the city reimburses you. So that's someone that has $11,000 that they can spend and then the city reimburses you. But if you do it with parks or public works, we just send the money directly to them. It's a little bit easier. And so that's why Catherine's saying a lot of parks projects. It's just,
We have done, in all fairness, done 3 slow down signs around schools. And those are quite expensive too. I mean, I was shocked the first time when I wrote the grant and realized how much money that was.
Can I make one more comment too, just to follow on Rachel's comment? I know it's a pain to write a whole grant application. So this is something that the board has ended up writing a lot of these in the past. But if you have an idea of something that you'd like to see that money spent on, that's something that you can bring to your neighborhood chairs and board. Also, we keep a Google Doc with these kind of ideas on them. So we're hungry for help trying to figure out what to do with this in the future.
I second the motion to give the money back to Parks and Rec.
Yes. Do we need to take a vote or a straw poll?
We usually do a straw poll to see how the community feels about where they want to spend their grant money.
Though I'm not saying for that particular bench, I'll have to work that out. Talk to the individual that's over that particular park. Those for giving the money back to Provo Parks, if you could raise your hand. Wasn't looking at you like, sorry, Ashley. Those against? Okay, so that motion passes. There is the only request that I've seen so far, and I am not trying to be biased towards a particular neighborhood, because we talked about the sales before and that was kind of out of our league. But let's talk later because there might be another grant we could write. Is Provo City, I don't know if you came last year in October, I think it was, Provo City is constantly painting over graffiti on the culverts in the same location. And so I'm not ready to put it forward yet, but the one idea we have is to take some grant money, not necessarily the full amount, to help cover the cost of getting artists in there to do murals on those culverts with the requirement that they have 2 coats of anti-graffiti coating on them, which means anti-graffiti, if someone were to come in and graffiti those murals, it's soap and water to take it off. You don't have to repaint, you don't have to do all that. It's pretty standard back where I'm from that things are coated with anti-graffiti. It just doesn't seem like it's the standard out here, but that's one idea. If anybody else, I'm just asking for ideas that you know in your neighborhoods.
That's a good idea.
Why not put cameras and see who's doing this?
I don't know that we can do cameras up there with the way it's so undeveloped. And then you have to find, I mean, you get a camera. So I work about a block and a half from here. And one night we have a camera up and we still didn't catch the person that graffitied our building. I mean, they may or may not catch them. And usually what we caught was this, like a hood, like walking this way. So the camera's over here, we got the back of their head. Now it didn't help us. We turned it into the police, but they're not going to do anything because that doesn't help them either. So they've requested it. The city has requested that we work on this project as a district.
I'm a Zoom comment again. Because graffiti has been such a horrible problem this past year in the area around Slate Canyon and northward along Slate Canyon Drive, I'd really like to start a neighborhood graffiti removal team. I feel like those of us who walk past it every day can keep on top of it much quicker than waiting for the police and juvenile detention team to get to it. I don't know if this could be something we could use funds for or if it's something to bring up separately, but I would happy to oversee something like this. It's sort of a broken window policy. If we can respond to the graffiti faster, it's more likely to stay away longer.
So one of the reasons we do go, I will be honest, it's a big bane of my existence that it takes so long to remove graffiti because the number one way to prevent graffiti is to remove it quickly. The quicker it gets removed, the less likely it's going to keep occurring. So I love that thought. However, we do go through the proper channels when it comes to removing graffiti because it helps the gang unit track gang signs and things like that, where the gangs are moving throughout the city, where they're operating, what territory they're claiming. So there are reasons beyond the nuisance of it that we go through the city. Plus, it is one of the way that the graffiti artists pay their penance, I guess. They help remove it. So they understand how difficult it is and what they're doing to that property. So I saw, yes.
McKay, I know you were working on stuff with our grant money for our neighborhood You were working on a number of.
Was that
things.
that one that?
Did it?
A pathway, it's
Yeah.
it's a property,
It does not ever work.
it just didn't work out.
Private property that we can really
But they're
use the grant
willing
money
to
for.
donate.
Yes.
How the use.
They were allowed to have an easement but the city wanted change of hands.
That was we worked on that together and it was really
That's still on
difficult.
our list, so.
Yeah.
Hopes and dreams.
We'd like to find a way to do that. Maybe get some contractors to donate some funds to help improve that pathway. But there also is this thing between pathways and trails, right? Which department within the city, one department does pathways and one does trails. And so neither one of them wanted to claim responsibility for that if we did it.
Can we?
Yeah, we can go. Yeah.
As you have other ideas, please bring them to your neighborhood chairs. You can contact us through the website or just track us down if you know one of us.
Yeah.
Again, this is something that we're constantly looking for to do. This Angie.
Seems like we have a deadline. for
Yes, we
turning
do.
in- When is our deadline again?
Isn't it end of June?
Well,
We have a deadline.
I don't like to say June because if you do it in June, you're not gonna get it through because you've got to make it.
I meant
No,
March.
But
the
I've been
city
working
council
on it.
voted to get rid of the deadline.
oh, you did? Okay, that's good to know. But I have been working on the grant.
With UDOT or
Projects.
we would always go past the deadline. So that's why you can roll over funds.
Yeah.
It's just when we can get to it.
Yeah, so I've been involved in writing the last 3 grants, so I just kind of started this one. I'm just waiting for the projects to plug in. We actually, by the way, volunteer hours are what allow us to get these grants. If we don't have enough volunteer hours, we don't get the full funding. So with that in mind,
Oh, you're gonna announce your thing.
yeah,
Okay.
with that in mind, Slate Canyon Days is an opportunity to participate up Slate Canyon. It's been going on for several years, once a year. They do Rock Canyon as well, but we're focused on Slate Canyon right at this time. It is on April 18th from 9 to 11. At 9 o'clock, you can opt to help expand the bike skills course by adding a pump track with rollers. Prepare for revegetation of erosion areas and wildflowers. You can pick up trash. Remove invasive myrtle spurge, which is a problem up in that area. At 10 o'clock, they're going to have educational experiences. So it's a great time to bring the kids. They can learn about Slate Canyon, the fauna, the flora, and the animals that live up there. There are flyers on the table. Please take one, share it. Again, this helps us with our volunteer hours, which allow us to get this grant money. Sorry, I know I went over my time. I apologize.
I kept going the meeting, but it's your meeting now. We're great.
So we have time for public comment and how much time do we?
7 minutes.
7 minutes. We have 7 minutes for public comment. So we'd ask that you state your name and then where you're from, like if you know your neighborhood, and then keep your comments to about 60 to 90 seconds so that we can have time for as many people as possible. And if you'll just raise your hand if you want to comment, we'll point at you and go. So. Yes.
Yeah, Danny Gonzalez. I live in the Provost, Slate Canyon area. Just commenting, I think this upcoming planning commission meeting, there's the data centers coming up. When this first came before the city, several months ago, it passed the planning commission on like a 7-2 vote. I raised some issues at that meeting and there was not a lot of public comment on it. So if anyone does have feelings on it or concerns, please come to the meeting.
That's the data center that's in East Bay.
Right.
Proposed in East Bay. Okay.
And then that will go to city council on March 3rd.
I'll be honest, I have a comment. Data centers require an extreme amount of water.
Yes.
And I think that is the worst thing we can do for our city.
And electricity.
Whether they're on the west side or the east side, I don't think that this is the place for, that's my personal opinion as a citizen, not your chair, vice chair.
I second that motion. Jennifer?
My public comment is just to introduce myself. I'm Jennifer Partridge. I'm the board member that represents Southeast Provo on the school board, and Meg Van Wagenen also represents some of this neighborhood. we're doing a lot of things right now. We're talking about our budget, we're looking at programs, we're looking at the achievement our students have with our strategic plan alignment and things. And so if you would like to learn about any of that or talk about it with me, I'd be happy to talk to you after the meeting.
Thank you, Jennifer. Did I see your hand, Julie?
Oh, since you're doing public service announcements, I am a resident actually over in Grandview. I grew up in Provo. I've lived here a really long time. And I have recently started doing a volunteer kind of public service thing where I write previews and recaps of the planning commission meetings and the Provo City Council meetings. And I post it on Facebook, but also you can just get it in your email inbox if you want. You can just go to provonotes.substack.com and then you'll just get it. And just to try to help people get informed about stuff like the data center, the information just came out, so I'll be doing a post on that pretty soon.
And they're usually on Provo Forward, correct?
Provo Forward, Provo New Developments. I try to put them in all the neighborhood groups, but there's like a bazillion of them and I don't know.
Well, especially if you can't get to a meeting.
I try to make it just really like, here are the basics.
Very user friendly.
And
Mitzi has one, and then we have an online one.
We have our table one.
Yes, okay. Mitzi, and then the table.
Is there anyone from the city here that is informed on the new sign that has gone up on the 9th East Blight and it says Cole West? So I assume there's been a transaction accomplished and something's going to happen.
She's talking about the department that has sat for years.
It has a new owner, we're hoping it goes through.
Oh,
It's
so
had
that's
like.
not just for a tear down.
I'm sorry, I thought that the city did a lien against it. And that was the company that was supposed to.
Yeah.
We did.
Yeah.
But everything's happening kind of at once, so either we'll do it or they'll have to level it, but it will be leveled. And hopefully this one goes through and does a nice development that they're planning on doing, but.
And it is Cole West that's engaged in the negotiation.
It's the name you have on the sign.
Okay. And that's for both pieces of property on the east and the west,
Just the
the east.
Yeah,
And their development has been approved?
no, but it'll have to go through the process, but it's gonna be torn down.
Any idea when?
No.
It's not in any condition to revamp.
Yeah,
It has to be 100% redone.
The city recorded on the deed, on the land at the county, that it is condemned, and so they can't refurbish that. It is illegal for them to do anything other than tear it down.
And they're gonna have to
So
come back for.
they'll have to pull like demolition permits from us to do that, but they can't refurbish it. There's no. Yeah, they can't do anything but tear it down and redevelop.
Okay, we're up to Rachel's table.
Okay, if you want to learn about all things Provo, we're gonna plug Uvology is accepting whoever signups, if you want to do that. It's a great 11-week class where you learn about all the city departments. You take tours of the sewer, you see hot dog man get electrocuted. It's amazing.
Tours of the sewer? I'm feeling like.
You do the new sewer tour. You get to see the little microbes. It's amazing.
It just sounded like, Ninja Turtles. That's all.
But they are, you can go on to the Provo City website. I just typed in Provology. It just took me right to the page. You can sign up. It's 11 weeks. It's on Wednesdays. It's excellent. I recommend every resident of Provo take it.
Leah, did you have something too?
No, just speaking for the table.
Can I say one other thing?
Yes.
I should have mentioned when I was talking about funding, there are other resources for funding like CDBG grants. Provost does not qualify, which shocks me because Provost Elementary is a Title I school, but they haven't for many years qualified. So, but Provost South may, Spring Creek generally does. So we can, if you have projects in those areas, we can look to see if we can get additional funding through CDBG grants. So just so you know, we do try and look at the area and where we can pull the funds.
Okay, it is 7:30.
Oh, he has to.
Okay, one more comment and then we need to.
The huge issue in our neighborhood is home ownership and affordability.
What's your name and neighborhood?
James Jeffries, Wasatch. Foothills. So people can't afford to live in our neighborhood. And the homeowners, like we've heard, are bearing the brunt of taking care of the parking.
The parking permits.
Thank you. Okay, thank you everyone for coming out. We are at our time for today, so we appreciate you all coming. We want to thank our city personnel, thank our mayor and our city council members for coming out, and the city departments that came out and talked with us. And we look forward to our next meeting is on Wednesday, April 29th at 6 p.m. So thank you very much.